Right, so first up's Heaton. I'd say he's been class this year. Before he was injured, he was one of the best keepers in the league, in my opinion. He made a lot of saves, got one of the highest save percentages in the league. Didn't get much help from his defence, to be fair to him. I think he's been absolutely class this year, before the injury away at Burnley. Yeah, he's been... There was a few times where he looks a bit shaky, like the Bournemouth game, but other than that, absolutely class. Next up's Neil Taylor. I'd say it's a bit harsh to say he's been awful. He's put in one or two solid performances. I'll go with bad, but he hasn't even been average. To be fair, bad. Gotta be. Drinkwater, awful. Just no debate on that. There's no way he's been even bad. Like, I was one of the advocates to give him time, just let him work on his fitness. But I mean, he ruined his reputation even more than he had before when he got into the bust up with Hotter. So, nah, awful. Dougie, at times he's been good. At times he showed signs of his class and how good he could be. But I think he's been too inconsistent this season. Like too many of our players, to be fair. Stick him in inconsistent. Has to be that, doesn't it? I don't think he's been good enough to be half decent throughout the whole season, but he's been better than average, I'd say. Yeah, inconsistent. Guinea, obvious. This is not another obvious one. I mean, some might even argue to put him higher, best individual of the season, but I'd say not that high, but he's been absolutely class this year. Henry Lansbury, sorry about that. He's been... See, he hasn't been inconsistent because he's been good in the Cup, but when he played in the league, he didn't look too good. He had his goal disallowed away at Palace, obviously, by Kevin Friend, stupidly. But I don't think he's been good enough to be half decent. He hasn't played enough games to be inconsistent. I'll put him in average at best because he's been half decent, but in the Cup. So I wouldn't put him in half decent or inconsistent because he hasn't played badly in the Cup, but that's where he's played his best football against the likes of the Liverpool youngsters and the Wolves youngsters. Wesley, I'm one of Wesley's biggest fans, if I'm honest. See, at times he's been class, like the Everton, Norwich, Man U games, but at times he's also been awful, moped around the pitch like he didn't care. But I'll put him in inconsistent just for that reason. He's looked absolutely brilliant and he's looked absolutely abysmal. So, I have to put him there. Next up, my favourite player, the captain, Super Jack. He's been the best this year, by far, in my opinion. Some argue that Guinea should be up there with him, but I think Jack's just been absolutely top this year. I'll be surprised if he doesn't leave, whether we stay up or go down, if the season carries on. I think he will stay, but I won't be surprised if he doesn't. That's if we stay up. Can't speak highly enough of him. My favourite player, many of your favourite player as well. And I think other than the incident during quarantine, I think he's shown that he's a proper captain. I think that was very immature of him and silly, and I don't condone that. Not proud of it, but he's still our Jack, and I think he's been a great captain since March 2019. Next up, Marvellous Nakamba. Hasn't really lived up to his name. I wouldn't even say he's been inconsistent. I just think he's been average, if I'm honest. Like, he wins the ball, but then he gives it away way too much. Nothing else to say, really. Steer only played 8 minutes. obviously, I think it was 8 minutes against Wolves in the league before getting injured. It's a bit of a shame, because I do like Stair. I rate him as a keeper. But can't really rate him this season, so gotta go in the bottom tier of can't rate. Horahan, if it was based on him only coming off the bench, class, but if it was based off him starting, awful, as bad as Drinkwater in my opinion, because when he starts he's absolutely invisible. Aside from the disallowed goal against Brighton, he's done nothing when he starts, in my opinion. He got the assist and goal against Newcastle, but I think other than that, he didn't really make any meaningful contributions. He had a half-decent game, but I'm going to go with inconsistent just for that pure reason. I think when he starts, he's just a passenger, but he's a very, very good impact sub. He's proved that time and time again. Konza, another one. When he started playing at centre-back in the back three, he looked very good, but I think that's just showing signs of his potential for the minute. Yeah, I think he's shown signs, but I don't think he's played well enough all the time to be half decent. I'd still stick him in inconsistent. Trezeguet's another one. He's a weird one. You could put him in inconsistent, but I don't think he has been inconsistent. I think he's just been consistently average. He works hard, but he can't shoot. He's pacey and he's got a bit of dribbling skills, but he can't shoot and he can't really pass either. It's average at best. Target as well. Going forward at times when he links up with Jack, he looks really good, but then defensively he's so suspect, and if he loses concentration or loses the ball, then we concede usually, and it's usually because of him. Aston only played 1 or 2 games, so I can't really rate him. I don't think he didn't look very good, but I mean, we was losing against Southampton and he come on and didn't look very good, and I don't know. Samata hasn't played enough. Hasn't played enough to be inconsistent, I don't think, but he hasn't been average, bad or awful. I'd say he's half decent. He's coming out, good impact, scored a good goal against City. The assister of that goal now, El Ghazi. I'd say he's been inconsistent because when he's on form, he's top draw. I think I'm one of El Ghazi's biggest fans. I think he's a top player, really good winger when he's at it, but when he's not, he's terrible. I mean, he's got really good record this season in terms of goals and assists, and that Burnley goal was absolutely stunning. And the way he reacted to Stone's mistake in the cup to assist Samagol's header was brilliant. I think he's a top player on his day. And unlike Trezeguet, I think he's got a bit about him. I like Trezeguet just because of his work ethic and he clearly cares, but I think El Ghazi's just a really talented winger and he just needs to work at his consistency to get up to these sort of levels. But I think he has the potential to be up here with McGinn as one of our top players, but not at the minute. He needs to work a lot harder at it. Bjorn, I'd say half decent. He really showed what he can do in the first few games of the season. He hasn't played as well since, but I think he had a good game against Spurs at home. I know he gave away the penalty and it was his mistake that led to the goal, but I think other than that, he was really solid. And if I'm honest, I don't think the penalty was too bad of a challenge. I thought he made a good challenge there, but obviously VAR thought otherwise. But I think he had a good game, and he's had a few other good games like Everton, Spurs away, where he was a game saver. So yeah, half decent. King Hutter hasn't really looked like much of a king, if I'm honest. He hasn't been bad, because he had a few good games like in the cup and stuff, but he hasn't played enough to be inconsistent like a few other players. I'll say he's been average at best. Before his injury, he had a good game against Everton, obviously assisting Wesley's goal, but then he had a few good games in the cup and that was about it. So yeah, average at best. Freddie, I'd say inconsistent. I'd say he's been better than Target. because when they're both good going forward, but when Target loses the ball or lapses in concentration, it usually leads to us conceding. But when Gilbert does it, he has the pace and the anticipation and the tackling ability to get back and make a good tackle that saves a goal. And I think he's a lot more solid defensively than Target. Nyland, I'd say half decent, because he has been absolutely class in the cups, so if we were rating it off that, he'd be up here. But like in the league, he wasn't very good. I think he's purely a cup player, if I'm honest. Like, he thrives off the buzz and the excitement of cup competitions, and he does well in those situations because everyone's behind him. And but when he's in the league, it's a different game. I mean, that's pretty obvious. Man City, we only lost 2-1, and we shouldn't have even lost because of their second goal. But then in the league, we got absolutely battered twice. Yeah, I think he thrives off the cups, Nyland. But I'm tempted to put him in good, but I think half decent's the rating for him. You're free to disagree with me, obviously. But this is purely my opinion. Elmo, average, just because he's done all right in the cups. Not amazing, but okay, I guess. I'll put him in average. Reina, he's been inconsistent because in his first couple of games he looked good. The Tottenham game, he had a good game. But other than those three, I'd say he's been pretty bad. But I don't think he's been good enough for a long time, enough to be inconsistent, because that's usually you have a good game, bad game, good game, bad game. So I'd say average at best for Reina. Just move him down a tier. You could argue to put him in bad, but I'd say average at best. Courtney House, like Konza, I think he looks solid to begin with, but he's sort of petered out. He's had a few good games here and there, a few bad games here and there. I'd say he's inconsistent as well. Indiana Vassilev, he's played quite well in a couple of games, did his job, roughed about the defenders a few times against Watford and Brighton. I'm glad he signed a new contract today, I believe. And he's a really good young prospect, and I think he's played quite well, but you can't really rate him since he's come off the bench once or twice. Davis is the same. He played in the cup and then he got injured, and he come back and he got injured again. But two really good prospects there, I'd say. I really rate them both very highly. Mings, before his England cap, I'll put him here. But after that, he's looked a different player. He makes more mistakes. He was at fault for the Man United goal, for the Arsenal goal that we conceded that tied things up. But we miss him when he's gone, and he's a good little player. I'll put him in good for this season. Sarkic as well. Now we've got to these. Sarkic, I'm going to be basing it purely off his loan spell at Livingston, where he played quite well. Kept a clean sheet and got an assist against Celtic in a 2-0 win. Fair play to him, and they was raving about him. Chezu as well. Played half decent in the cup and for Stoke. Hogan, if you're basing it off his time at Stoke, he'd be down there in one of these two, but since he's gone to Blues, I think he's on this tier, because he's been absolutely on fire for him. I think he won the Player of the Month for the Championship, so fair play to him for that. But in my opinion, if you go to Blues, you can stay there. Green as well, been half decent for Charlton and Preston sent him back, or we called him back to send him out to Charlton, which I think was a bit of a silly move, but Preston liked him. He's been good for Charlton as a second striker, where I think I've said this before. I don't think publicly, but I've said this before. He thrived down the middle just because of his playing style, and he has done very well as a second striker and number 10 there. Bree, I think he's been average for Luton this season, and he's been an average right back, I'd say. looked okay at times, but I mean, the defence ain't very good, and he hasn't been very good either. Kalinic now, Toulouse, he played 4 games before getting injured. I'd say bad, just because he didn't look very good. I think he kept a couple of clean sheets, but he didn't look very good. Thor Hayes has been half decent in his loan spell away at Cheltenham, but nothing else to say really. He's been half decent. Cal looked very good for Cov this season. I think he looks like the best player in League One. I think he's ready to make the step up to the first team now, or maybe another loan spell in the Championship before coming up to us. But I think he's ready for first team football with Villa now, Cal. I think he looks like he's developing into a good little player. And finally, Jacob Ramsey, based off his time in the youth teams and his the start of his loan spell at Doncaster, he's looked quite good this year. I'll put him in half decent, but I think he's looked quite good. So what do you think? Obviously, this is just my opinion. You're free to go to this link and tweet us with your own tier list of the Villa players this season. I forgot Hepburn Murphy. I'll put him at half decent based on his time at Tranmere, and I'll make sure his picture's in there for if any of you want to rank these players. But make sure to send them in to us on Twitter and Instagram and the Villa.